for radiation that was produced before the Big Bang. And before the Big Bang,
Is this radiation part of our cosmos?
it currently is, yes.
So it is within this universe, within this
It is.
cosmos. So how can you then talk about we can know something outside it? You are describing things by experimentation, something which is already within this cosmos. It's like if you're on a computer screen and you are the actors playing, behaving like a program, would you know what's outside the screen?
No.
So how can science tell us what's outside the universe?
The way I just proposed, it is possible. It is conceivable. In the ways I'm describing, radiation, things that have...
But these are all part of the universe,
They have
cosmos.
yes, they have become part of the universe.
So these doesn't describe in what's outside it.
It does. It gives information. It is things that originated from outside the universe, outside our current universe, from before the Big Bang.
Radiations, everything. You are focusing on the creation maybe of our particular universe, right? Are you saying this universe was created or it came from some radiations prior to that?
No. I'm saying that there is the existence of energy, waves, particles, whatever you want to call it, I don't know the details, that can be observed in the universe, that have origins from outside the universe.
How do we make that assumption?
Some conclusion? No, you do a scientific experiment, and you try to make some predictions based on the results of those experiments.
How do we know they were actually from outside?
With great difficulty.
You see, you are all describing something in a closed system. That's all you're describing, everything part of that system.
I'm saying this is not closed. Something can come from outside. Anyway, this doesn't matter.
But when you say it doesn't matter, you're assuming there's an outside, right?
There was something to do that experiment. Yes, you're assuming that there's an outside. That is your hypothesis.
But how do you get to that even if there's something outside?
Well,
Whatever you're describing, it's all part of this cosmos, all of it.
Correct.
This is the system that you're looking at. You haven't gone beyond the universe, beyond our cosmos.
Not in your observation, no. Because we can't do that. We can't even get out of the solar system.
So you cannot say what's outside it, can you? You can speculate only.
I believe that you can. Scientists...
Okay, is there a green turtle outside of our cosmos?
Probably not.
How do you know it's there or it's not there?
No, I don't know one way or the other, but I suspect not. It wouldn't make sense.
Suspect not is just an assumption. So this is your speculative assumption. I don't...
What's wrong with that? It's better than saying I know for sure when I don't.
When you say something is there or isn't there, what is the basis for saying this?
You need evidence.
Yeah, what is the evidence saying there is no green turtle outside our cosmos? So you have no evidence, but you believe in it.
No, I said I suspect there isn't.
So you believe, your suspicion is your belief. Remember, your knowledge base...
I don't like the word belief in this sense. I have no reason...
Belief, it's not a belief system.
I don't like the word belief there.
What is it then? Your opinion? Your thinking?
My suspicion. My suspicion.
No. Remember, we are talking about knowledge base.
Yeah.
You are trying to come into a knowledge base by speculating, by having what? A suspicion. Your suspicion is giving you that knowledge.
No, that's not. No,
so he hasn't given you any knowledge whatsoever.
That's not knowledge. I don't have knowledge of whether or not a turtle exists outside the universe. I wouldn't say. I mean, effectively, I do. You purposefully give an absurd example. There clearly isn't. You know that, and I know that.
Now, how do you know there clearly isn't? I want to know your processes.
Because it doesn't make sense.
You see?
But there could
just
be.
Because the phenomenon of the light, whether it's a wave or a particle, doesn't make sense because it seems to be, dual nature, it doesn't mean that's the reality, is it?
No, no. Well, it does. That is a form of reality. Whatever we observe is reality, yes.
Yeah, but you can't say it doesn't make sense because it doesn't make sense. Because does it make sense in the dual nature?
Oh yes, we can. We can definitely say it doesn't make sense. That is the basis of science. We say we observe stuff. This doesn't make sense. Let's do another experiment to try and figure out what on earth is going on.
Just because you think it doesn't make sense to you, it doesn't mean it's true.
Sorry.
Just because it doesn't make sense to you, it doesn't mean it's true.
No, I say false. It doesn't mean it's false. So it doesn't make
it false.
Yeah, I wouldn't say true. I'd say false in this situation.
It doesn't make it false.
The turtle. So technically, though, you're the one making the claim that there's a turtle outside the universe. You would have to present to me some evidence.
I'm saying anything outside the universe. How can you discredit anything? You have no basis for it. You have no evidence to discredit what's outside because you have no way of knowing what's outside.
Yeah, that doesn't.
All of that will be your suspicion, your educated guesses and your speculations.
Yeah. Well,
So science, if you use that tool, you would not be able to arrive to this answer. That's the limitation of it.
no, I mean that's just not true. I've given detail on why that's not true. So you're kind of going over the same
You gave an
ground.
example of how some radiations, whatever, they are the originating forces before this universe. Our universe didn't start with nothingness.
Well, you don't know
Our
that.
current universe.
Yeah. How can you know that?
Can nothingness generate something?
Yes, maybe.
What is nothingness?
The absence of stuff?
How can the absence of stuff generate stuff?
From 0 you could get -1 and +1.
If I have in my wallet £0, 0 penny,
Yeah.
can I give you 20 quid?
Yes, you can go into debt.
I have no money in your wallet. Can I physically give you this money?
Yes. Oh, you can't physically. If you don't have anything in your pocket, yes.
Yeah, I don't have any.
Well, you can give me
I have no friends.
You give me
I have no
£20.
banks.
Okay.
Yeah, no one to borrow from. Because all I have is nothing. My wallet has no money. That's nothing. No money. Can I give you any money?
Yes, you can go into debt.
Where can I get this money from?
Befriend someone.
I said I have no money. I have no friends. I have no bank. I have nowhere to borrow it.
In that specific situation, no, you can't. You can't go into debt.
I said I have nowhere to borrow from. To borrow from means borrow something that is existing.
Yeah.
That was nothing then. Question is, can you get something from nothing?
I see no reason to say that you can't get something from nothing. I have no reason to think that I have no evidence for one way or
How
another.
do you describe something coming from absolute nothingness when there is no something?
Yeah.
You see, to get some energy from nothingness, this nothing doesn't have any energy. And you say, oh, you can borrow it. Borrow it from what? From another nothingness? That nothingness doesn't have any energy.
Yeah.
Borrow it from what? From another nothingness? That nothingness has no energy. So where are you going to borrow from?
No, it's mind-boggling. It doesn't make sense.
No, it's not making sense. Where are you going to borrow from?
Where-
There's absolutely nothing else.
Where doesn't make sense because there is nothing. So there's no where implies.
So that means you cannot get it from anywhere.
No, it doesn't.
Sorry?
It doesn't imply that.
Hang on.
No.
Look, this is why the Quran is actually very specific in dealing with the atheists.
Okay.
The Quran says, أَمْ خُلِقُوا مِنْ غَيْرِ شَيْءٍ أَمْ هُمُ الْخَالِقُونَ
Okay.
أَمْ خَلَقُوا السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ بَلْ لَا يُوقِنُونَ أَمْ خُلِقُوا مِنْ غَيْرِ شَيْءٍ. Were they created from nothingness? أَمْ هُمُ الْخَالِقُونَ. Did they create them themselves? أَمْ خَلَقُوا السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ. Did they create the heaven and the earth? بَلْ لَا يُوقِنُونَ. They have no certainty of faith. They're not certain. So, can you originate, can you produce, can you manufacture from absolute nothingness? The answer is no. You say yes. I want to know.
No. I say I don't know. I see no reason.
I say I know.
Yeah, but you've got no evidence.
My evidence is absolute nothingness is the absence of anything.
Yeah.
So you cannot get thing from something that is not even there.
And what's your evidence?
I just told you.
No, that would be a circular argument. If that's your evidence, that's a circular argument. It's the case because I'm saying it's the case.
A thing to come has to come from something.
Within
It
the
cannot
universe,
from
within the universe, yes,
anywhere.
I agree with
It
that.
cannot come from something which is not even existent. Existence cannot come from non-existence.
Yeah, well, I mean, I disagree. You're making a
Okay.
you're making a claim here,
Hang
so
on.
you need to provide some evidence.
Are you suggesting existence can come from nothingness, from non-existence? Based on what?
No, I'm not suggesting it. Okay.
That's why you disagreed with me.
No. There's a really, really clear, important distinction. I'm not saying one way or the other.
What are you saying?
I'm saying I don't know.
You don't know.
You're saying it's impossible.
Why don't you know?
Because science hasn't developed to that extent.
Science has.
But then if you say
Nothing.
Science
Okay.
hasn't.
Have you?
Science has not. Has not.
Science is all about observation, right? Have we observed in our scientific labs something coming from absolute nothingness?
No.
Right. So what can we conclude then?
We can conclude that within the universe,
Within our scientific method,
Yeah, within-
with our scientific tools that we have, nothing cannot give rise to something.
Yes. So within the universe, we can conclude, therefore, that things do not come from nothing.
Right. So how
But
can
we're talking about the origin of the universe.
I'm saying this universe that we are describing, it could not have come from nothing.
Okay, and
the reason why I'm saying this,
Yeah.
everything else you see,
Yeah.
you can make a generalization from it.
Yeah.
Everything that you see, it does not come from nothing.
You must know that this is a logical fallacy.
Generalization is a logical fallacy.
No, what you're doing is
It's a logical fallacy only when you make it into something that doesn't make sense.
it's the fallacy of composition. It's saying people have personalities, atoms make up people, therefore atoms have personalities.
Absolutely not the case.
No, let me explain why that is what you're doing. You're saying that because within the universe, the composite bits and pieces of the universe have always had a antecedent thing. They've come from something. You're saying therefore the universe.
Okay. Can anything in this universe come from nothingness?
That's a fallacy. Sorry?
Can anything within this universe come from nothingness?
I've already said no.
Why not?
But because we observe this to be the case. Science tells us that.
So science tells us everything in this universe, it cannot come from nothingness.
Correct.
So what generalization you're making?
I can generalize to the extent of the universe, the contents of the universe. I cannot generalize past that. I can't then say, therefore the universe can come from nothing.
Why can you not?
What can I not want?
Why can you not?
Because that would be the fallacy of composition.
If something requires something else for it to bring into existence,
Yes.
if the universe is something, why doesn't it require something else to bring to existence?
Because we've got no evidence, we've done no experiments on creating universes.
You've already observed the universe.
Yeah,
If you
the
already
contents
observe
of the universe.
the
Yes.
content of the universe, that everything within this universe, it cannot come into existence from absolute nothingness.
Correct.
So, if the universe itself is something, the whole universe itself,
Yep.
because parts of the universe requires it to come from something else.
Within the universe, yes.
The universe itself is something.
Correct.
How do you then postulate that the universe can come from nothingness?
I have no reason to say one way or the other.
How can you postulate it can come from nothingness?
No, I'm saying I don't know.
Can you postulate it come from nothingness?
You can postulate anything you want, yes.
No. If you say you can say the universe can come from nothingness, this something can come from nothingness based on what?
Say that again.
If you say the sum total of everything in this universe,
Yeah.
which is also something,
Yep.
how can it come from nothingness?
No, I don't think it did. I think everything within
Can
the...
you say it came from nothingness? Can science say it can come from nothingness?
Listen,
Science doesn't know everything.
within the universe,
doesn't know
everything has come from something. But you can't generalize that to the actual universe. That is the fallacy of composition.
Come on. So if the universe itself is something, what is so special about this universe that it can come from nothingness?
I mean,
There's only two options, my friend.
what do you
only two.
What do you mean by
Okay,
what do you mean by special?
let's talk about it. There's only two options.
Clearly,
I'll tell you.
clearly, it is a very rare event.
No. It's not a rare event. There's only two options. The universe, either it came from absolute nothingness, or it didn't come from nothingness, it came from something.
Okay.
Is another alternative.
No.
Good. So let's take the example of can it come from absolute nothingness? Everything we see tells us nothingness cannot generate anything.
I agree.
Then you're in a strong position to conclude the universe could not come from absolute
That is
nothingness.
false. That is, you cannot do that.
Why is it false?
Because it is, you're talking, it's the fallacy of composition. You just need to read about that. You're saying,
Tell me why it's false.
because you're drawing a conclusion that you may not draw. You're saying, because of the things that I observe within the universe, it is therefore true of the universe. You cannot do that.
So basically you're saying it is possible that the universe can come from absolute nothingness.
Correct.
Yeah?
Yes.
Okay, based on what?
Based on having no evidence one way or the other.
If you say it is possible the universe could come from
I'm making a
absolute
very weak
nothingness-
claim,
Wait,
which
wait.
is that it's possible.
If you say it's possible, now tell me, reason with me, how is it possible?
I don't have to tell you that.
No, give me a reason.
That's like saying,
Give me a reason.
No.
Why do you think it's reasonable to even think that the universe can come from absolute
no,
nothingness?
the unreasonableness comes in when you start to make a claim an assertion
Two
that
options.
it did come from something.
I take the option that it could not come from nothingness, and you take the option that it can. So
Yeah.
tell me your reason.
No, I'm saying that we don't know. That's all I'm saying. You're saying that you know.
Okay, look. These
And
are
I'm saying, what's your evidence?
Look, two
Okay?
options, right?
Yeah.
Only two options.
I agree. We've covered this, and I agree with that.
If you don't think that it is not the first option, that it can come from nothingness, yeah? Look, only two options. Let me take one option. It has to come from something.
Fine.
You take the other option. Now give me your reasons why the other option is reasonable.
Absolutely not. I'm not taking a position. I'm saying I don't know.
There are only two options.
It could have come from something. It could have been God.
No,
But I don't know that.
Look,
And you don't know that.
Look, it could have come from something.
Yes.
And it could have come from
Nothing.
nothingness.
Yes.
Now give me the reasons that it could have come from nothingness.
No, I don't have to.
You just said it could have.
Yes, it
and
could
yet
have.
you are unable to reason.
Yes.
I've given my reason, you call it a logical fallacy of composition. Now give me your reason.
A tree could have red leaves, blue leaves.
No.
I don't need to
Give
give
me
reasons
your
for that
reason.
being the case.
No. Give me your reason.
The reason, Scott, because the green light is reflected back, because the energy from the
fine,
sun is in the red and the blue,
Yeah.
and that gets absorbed, and the green light doesn't give much energy, so it's reflected
Yeah,
back.
no.
That's why trees have green leaves.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have given my reason, which you discount as calling a logical fallacy of composition. Give me your reason for your so-called possibility. It is possible that the universe comes from nothingness.
Yes.
Go ahead, give me a reason.
It's possible because I can say the sentence. All I need to do is say something that makes sense. The universe can come from nothing.
Show
it can come
me
from something.
with some reason.
I don't have any.
Reason?
And I don't need any.
Oh, so basically, someone who believes in God, they can just simply say, I don't have to provide any reason whatsoever. I know it's true, and it's true.
I wouldn't accept that, but if you do that, that's fine.
But
You're welcome to do that.
But for you to have a possibility that the universe can come from absolute nothingness, you don't have to give any reason. That's what you're saying.
That's correct.
Why?
I don't have to give reasons for why something could be possible.
So could it be false? Could your reasons be? Could your statement? Could your possibility? Out of the two possibility, could your possibility be false?
Yes.
Yeah?
No, I don't have one. I'm saying I don't know which one it is.
No, I've given you.
Either could be true or false.
There's only two possibilities.
Yes.
The universe came from absolute nothingness.
Yeah.
So it came from something.
Explain it.
If you said the universe could come from absolute nothingness, is this proposition true or false? Could it be false?
I believe it. Yes.
If it's false, then the other proposition is true. So, if it's false, then we don't need to even talk about it. But if it's true, what are your reasons to make it true?
I don't know that it's true.
Then you could say the
So you have no reason to believe it to be true.
No.
But all reason to believe it to be false.
No, that's you're missing the point every single time.
You have no reason to believe it to be true, your proposition.
Correct?
But you have reasons to believe it to be false.
No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying I have no reasons one way or the other.
Why not?
I just don't. I have no evidence. Science hasn't progressed to a point where it can interrogate before the Big
Is
Bang.
science the right tool for that question?
Yes, it's the only one we have.
No, it's not.
Well,
Science cannot deal.
I believe it's the only one.
Science cannot deal with things which are not empirical. Beyond the creation of the universe, there is no empiricity. There is no empirical. There is no matter to deal with. There is nothing.
How do you mean science can't deal? Are you saying science can only deal with matter?
Can science deal with supernatural?
Yes.
What kind of scientific method are you describing? Scientific method is to deal with the natural world.
No, it's
The
not.
natural world, not the supernatural world.
There's been experiments done based on supernatural. I can do an experiment. It was one done for patients in ITU, and you can get 2 ITU wards. Church prays for one, but not the other, and you see how they do. And these people every Sunday say prayers, and they hope that the people get better. And then you can look to see whether one ward got better than the other. The hypothesis there is that prayer works, and what prayer is speaking to God, and He changes the order of the universe in order to heal these people. That is a scientific experiment. That is science dealing with the supernatural.
That is dealing with the supernatural phenomena, but it's not actually observing the supernatural, is it?
No.
Right.
Well,
So
it is. It's
not observing
It's observing their effects.
effect.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about the effect.
Okay,
we
so-
were talking
okay,
about the
so-
causes of our universe,
so let-
and you talk about the effect.
So let me continue. So we do the experiment. We find that the ITU, where the patients who were prayed for, did much better. You can then say, oh, well, there's clearly something in this. You would have to repeat the experiment because it's so unlikely. But anyway, let's say you repeated it 1,000 times, and every single time you found that the ITU patients who were prayed for did much, much better. Then the next thing that you need to do is try and propose a mechanism. And then you would start to look for, are there particles like gravitrons? Is God doing something and interfering with the bacteria that's inside someone's lung? Or whatever. You would then, that's what you would, that's
so
what you would then do.
all the experiments that have been done, are they postulating a God particle? Are they postulating God in there?
Why not? I postulate that.
Not you.
If prayer is working, there is something.
The experiments have been done.
Right.
Are they postulating God in there?
The original experiment suggests that God is acting on patients in ITU.
Was that in a peer-reviewed journal?
Yeah.
And then did it get criticized by others? How can you bring God in?
No. Why would it?
Because every time you want to publish something in a scientific journal and you say, remember that particular author and the paper that got really reprimanded by calling it the hand of God, and they had to retract with an apology by publishing it.
Okay.
Yeah. So the dogmatic science doesn't allow this kind of supernatural explanation in scientific peer-reviewed journals.
It does.
Yeah?
No, it does.
That's interesting to know.
Look up that experiment.
That one's true. Yeah.
Look up the experiment. It's in a journal, scientific journal. Obviously, it was negative. It didn't show any difference.
But if it's positive, they would say it's a positive.
If it is positive, what they would say is scientists are notoriously skeptical, and if it is positive, they'd say we need to repeat this. And if that was positive, they'd say we need to repeat this. And if that was positive, they'd say we need to repeat
Sure.
this.
And then basically you will be experiments where it will no end because they will not eventually succumb to the conclusion that there is God, because that is not part of an explanation in the natural scientific method.
Well, I don't agree, but okay.
That's the dominant dogmatic science.
Yeah, well,
you may be a believer. You may be a believer.
Only because there's no evidence for God in science. If there was evidence for God in science, then
how can science bring evidence for God itself?
By the mechanism I just suggest.
Yeah. I mean, if that was the case,
this was a church.
If that was the
you
case,
could then go onto a mosque.
No, if that was the case, the scientists would have already done that experiment already.
Well, it was negative, so they don't need to do more. You don't need to do another experiment to show that it's negative.
Yeah. So does it prove God doesn't exist?
No, it's evidence against it.
It's not evidence against it. It just tells you that God, these people really, have the prayer answered or not. Why would God necessarily answer the prayer in the way people ask? Yeah. So it doesn't prove God's some kind of interactions within it, because people have a perception that every prayer that I make, God has to listen to it. God is under obligation to answer the prayer. Yeah. Okay. So anyway,
it doesn't prove anything. It's evidence against it.
Just to come back, you and I know very well the whole concept of something kind of out of nothingness is simply not believable. But yet, you, in the name of science, you give this possibility. The reason being, then you don't have to postulate God at the end of the equation.
Could you not include me in the video, please?
Can you not record him, please? Yeah?
Thank you. Sorry, go ahead. What was the question?
I was saying, the reason why scientists, people who are involved in this kind of discussions that we are having now in terms of the origin of the cosmos, they don't want to accept the concept of the universe coming from something or nothing, because they know the repercussions, they know the consequences of this kind of belief system. Because if nothingness...
Scientists do that. Did you say scientists do that or what?
Stephen Hawking, what happened? Every time he's coming up with a theory, he's trying to modify it because it comes to a point where his equations are actually pointing towards God, a creator, an originator. So scientists, the dogmatic scientists doing something like it. Even though they see the intricate mechanisms, irreducible complexity in the physical, biological systems, they're still trying to say that can happen by natural processes. You don't need a supernatural being to make all these things.
That's right.
So I am saying the concept that something can come from absolute nothingness is something that everyone knows in their heart.
No, that's not the way you do science. You don't say what you feel in your heart. That's exactly why we have science, because humans are so biased. They make all kinds of errors of judgment. So you have to do these meticulously planned out experiments that change one variable and one variable only, ideally. in reality it tends to be more, and that's why experiments aren't perfect. But you never say, oh, you feel it in your heart and therefore it's true.
Using hypothetical mathematics, can you get something from nothing?
What is hypothetical mathematics?
Using mathematics to theorize things. Not.
I've never heard that phrase before.
No,
I don't know what that would mean.
What I'm saying is, in the absence of physical data, we speculate with our mathematics. We speculate about the theories.
Do we? With maths? Maths is a language for understanding the world. I don't think. Anyway, it's not important. Go ahead.
Has anyone seen the Big Bang?
No.
But we're using our mathematical models.
Yeah, you model it. I don't think you create it. It's not important. Continue.
No, I'm sorry. You have to correct me if I'm mistaken. Are we not using mathematical formulas and models to describe the origin of our universe?
Absolutely. To describe, yes.
So
describe the model.
This mathematics is based on what?
What do you mean?
What is the mathematics? What's this math based on? Real material evidence?
Maths is a language, so
yeah. Is it based on real material evidence or simply speculating?
It's a set of laws and rules and based in logic and things like that.
Logic.
And we define some axioms.
Thank you. Logic.
Yeah.
So mathematics has logic. So I am saying, logically speaking, can you get something from nothingness?
Yes. You can. I have no evidence for it. I have no evidence for it.
Good luck to you.
Yeah.
This is why when the Quran speaks to the creation, it wants people to critical thinking.
Yeah.
Critical thinking. That look at these things. Look at your own self. Look at your composition. Look at the way you're composed. Look at your fingerprints.
Okay, yes.
Somehow, for some reason, you would say all of this is possible by mere natural processes. Correct. Without an organizer.
Correct.
Do you see anything happening by natural processes, a system as complex as a human or a tree?
We only have natural processes, so no. Anything I see is, by definition, created by natural processes.
Created?
Yeah.
How can nature create anything? Nature is not a creator.
The origin of the Big Bang, that would be the creation of everything.
The Big Bang was an effect or a cause? Well, you said it's a Big Bang, meaning an explosion.
Yeah, it's a creation.
It's an explosion.
It's the creation of the universe.
A cause or an effect?
Of what?
I'm asking you.
But that's a half a sentence. Cause or effect of what?
The Big Bang that you described itself is what?
The creation of the universe.
Creation. So it's an effect.
Okay.
And what's the cause for it?
No, I don't think there's a cause. I don't know.
So now you're again.
You're trying to make a point by asking me questions, but just make the point, and we'll get there much quicker.
Have you observed effects having no causes whatsoever in our natural world?
No video for me, please.
Can you not record it?
Sorry. Yeah.
Have you observed anything where without any cause effects happen?
We have no examples. We've covered this extensively. There's no evidence for that.
There's no evidence.
Yeah.
So when it comes to the universe, you say Big Bang created this universe.
Yes. As in atoms were formed.
Things were formed.
Things were generated. Yes.
And the causes for that was?
Absolutely no idea. And nor do you dare I say it.
So can you have no cause?
Yes.
And you have the effect?
Correct.
How? Based on what? How did you get this conclusion that you can have effect without a cause?
Based on the point that I've made a few times now.
Which is?
That something can come out of nothing.
No. What have you observed?
We have no evidence to say one way or the other. We have never experienced a universe come into existence. What happens before that? Before doesn't make sense, as I'm sure you've read, because time didn't exist. But before...
Time didn't exist?
Not before the universe, no.
Then how did the universe come into existence if time didn't exist?
I mean, these questions don't make sense.
But you believe in these nonsensical things. How do you have something coming into existence, meaning a change happening, from non-existence to existence as a change, and there was no time?
It's mind-boggling, isn't it?
No, it's not mind-boggling. It's very clear.
But if you can't grasp it, that doesn't mean it's false.
No, this is a lie.
Right.
In my words.
For it to be a lie, you need to have evidence that it's not the case.
What is time? Time is a measure of change. When you have non-existence coming into existence, this is a change. So there was time involved. By saying there was no time involved, it's a lie.
Sorry, there was no time before the universe.
When you say there was no time,
Time-
then how can you have this change occurring?
That doesn't make sense. Time and space are equivalent in various ways. If you have no space, which you would
When
not have had
something
before,
happened, the universe popped into existence by the Big Bang. This change requires time, and time is a measure of this change.
yeah, no, it
So
doesn't.
time-
No, it doesn't. It doesn't.
So can you? Did it happen?
Change can happen without time. That's not a requirement. So
Okay, what is time then? Define.
I don't know what time. Time is it's a dimension. It's something,
What is time?
Something we experience.
No, time is a measure of change.
It's not. It's not.
What is it then?
But it's not that.
So basically, you're talking about a language that we are not even understanding. So when you say there was no time, you actually mean what? What is time you're describing?
Yeah.
What is this time, the concept you're describing?
A dimension.
No, what is that dimension? What is it?
It's a fundamental part of the fabric of the universe. You can't say
What is it?
You're asking me to break it down further.
Now you're committing this tautology. You're describing the same thing by itself. What is this time that you're describing that didn't exist?
Yeah, I mean it is a dimension that forms the universe, part of the universe.
Sorry?
As we know it.
It is a,
Dimension.
and what do you mean by that?
I mean, it's a fundamental part of the fabric of the universe. You're asking me to break it down further.
Yeah, please do.
I'm unable to do that for you. I don't know what point you're making, even if I could or couldn't.
No.
What
What
is
I'm
the
saying
point?
is, this is what scientists are postulating, they believe in. So you should be able to describe what they believe. If they believe there was time involved, what is that thing? Is it a thing? It's not a thing, is it?
No, you can't. No, you can't have a ball of time. No.
Right, it's not a thing. What is it then?
No, I don't know. I mean, we can do this ad nauseum.
No,
if
I
you
want
like.
to know
I
from
can't break it down further. I'm sure
So you believe in not a thing, in a concept which you don't know even how to describe it.
I have described it for you. It's a dimension.
What do you mean by a dimension?
Well, you're saying I can't describe it. I've described it for you.
I want to know what's the
That
dimension.
is satisfactory
To me, for example,
I feel like this is not getting
this is,
anywhere.
we are in a three-dimension,
If you
meaning
could
what? We
explain
have height, width, length, breadth, right?
you could explain
That's a
your-
dimension.
Correct. Space is
That's how we
easy.
observe.
Space is more. Anyway, this is not. Do you have a point relating to time?
Yes.
Because you should make it, because this is not.
I'm saying time did not get created within this universe. Time existed.
Right. Well, that's a claim that physicists know to be false. So unlike what happened before the Big Bang, whether the universe came from something, we don't know that.
But you describe the
but ti-
universe came
ti-
into existence.
But time came into existence at the start of the Big Bang.
When this change occurred from non-existence to existence or existence to existence, that is a change.
Okay.
Did the change occur?
Yes.
Right. We describe the change by the measurement of this concept called time.
No, that's false. That is not true. You do not need
okay.
time for change
Okay,
to happen.
So now give me the concept of a definition that describes change from one to the other.
I mean, I would use time to describe that anyway.
Give me a new concept then. What do you call it?
I mean, change that implies like movement or heating or an ing at the end. That for me is
Change
is
from
change.
non-existence to existence. It's a change.
Yeah.
So
Generation or
So what
creating.
is that change that had the existence that made that change possible within that dimension?
I just didn't understand a single
Okay.
word of that. I mean, it didn't make sense.
You see, that's where the scientists sort of hide behind these, loaded terms. Lawrence Krauss, professor.
Just
Wait,
tell me
wait,
your
no,
point.
Let me tell you, Professor Lawrence Krauss.
we're
He
discussing-
wrote a book called The Universe from Nothing. What a deceiver. He doesn't believe the universe came from nothing. He explains in a book it came from something. But yet, he wants to tell the people, he's blind sheep, the universe came from nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah? So he totally disagrees and goes against the very nation of what is nothing. And that's, my nothing is something.
But he's very clear. He defines nothing.
Then it's not nothing.
No, he defines it though. He can use it however he wants. Nothing can mean
A
a bunch.
wave of any kind,
Yeah.
of energy, or a fluctuation, it's not nothing, it's something.
Correct.
So when he said that,
I don't know how to do
so
it.
when
The absence of
Professor esteemed professor said this was nothing, that was a lie.
No, he defined nothing.
That's not nothing.
I can define nothing however I want and then continue.
No,
to
you
discuss
can't
nothing.
define nothing however you want.
Yes, you can. Yes, you can. In science, you can do whatever you want as long as
So basically, you have a...
Let me finish. As long as you define your terms at the start, and then you use them in a controlled way.
Yeah, that is
what
not
you
a
can't
definition
do,
I accept.
what you can't do.
I don't accept that definition.
That's fine. You don't have to accept
No,
it.
what I'm saying is that definition...
That is normal practice.
That definition is not acceptable because it doesn't describe what it's trying to say.
Not to lay people.
Okay, this is nothing. This is nothing. Do you accept?
If
This is nothing, right?
Yes, I accept if you're claiming that to be your definition of nothing.
Yeah, this is nothing.
That's absolutely fine.
Yeah.
And then you can go on to...
What a joke.
We're going to give you a definition of
it's a
nothing. Let's
joke.
see if you agree
Why
with
is that true?
it.
Yes.
If you
Okay,
find...
on planet Earth, who's going to say this is absolute nothing? Nothing.
You
that's
are.
nothing.
You are for some reason that you're going to explain.
Would you accept if I said this is nothing?
I have absolutely no problem with that. But you'd have to
You
explain
would accept
why.
my definition, this is nothing.
Sorry?
Would you accept my definition? This is nothing.
If you had a reason to do so, I don't mind.
Would you?
You can call it whatever you want. I don't mind. As long as you define it beforehand. It's interesting that people have a problem with
Wait,
that.
guys, wait.
You guys clearly
Can
aren't
we say,
scientists.
we're going to give you a definition of
define things
nothing.
however
Let's see
you
if you
like.
agree
Intelligent
to
than that.
Wait. He's going to give you a definition of what nothing is.
Yeah.
And let's see if you
Absence of everything and anything.
Okay, it's fine. I agree.
That is the definition of nothingness.
absence of everything.
Anyone who says this is nothing, they don't even know what they're talking about.
Absence of
They
everything.
need to learn language perhaps or concepts that
definitely
would describe
call them
them.
nothings.
Not fine. The reason why esteemed Professor Lawrence Krauss had to define nothing because he knows there's no way he can bring the universe from nothing.
No, he based on evidence.
That's why he had to redefine nothing
No.
to make it something for the universe come from.
No. He did it because
sheep one.
he did it because there are reasons to do it, and the reasons to do it was based on the mathematical descriptions. If you take away everything, the mathematical descriptions that we have of the universe show that with the removal of everything, you still have energy, you still have stuff. This is the interesting reason why nothing had to be defined in the way that it was. He did it for a reason.
Was that nothing something?
And the reason is called science.
That energy, was it something or nothing?
It's something.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're just proving your argument.
My friend,
Our argument.
there's no point talking anymore. There's no point talking anymore.
You're not a scientist. Are you a
My
scientist?
friend,
Are you a scientist?
I'm not.
it's simple as this. If you have nothing, you will always have nothing.
Yeah.
So therefore, you have to have something, as you said before.
But what if I
have
tell you?
something?
But what if you're saying that nothing is the absence of everything?
Nothing can.
Okay.
The universe came from nothing, that's the energy, and that's something.
No, hold on a second. Hold on a second.
You know, this is where...
Hold on a second. Look, you're saying that nothing. What is nothing? The absence of everything.
Yes.
If I take away everything from a block of space, you're left with energy.
That's not nothing.
That's the paradox.
That's not nothing.
That's why this is
That is
interesting.
not nothing.
Exactly. I agree.
So you haven't defined nothing then. That's something
No,
still.
you have to
A
define.
vacuum. A vacuum is something.
You need to retract
I
your
can't break it down
statement
any
and
No, it's
say
not breaking
something
down.
can come out
You
of
need
something.
to. You need to be
Not
what
nothing.
we call scientists, atheist scientists. Need to have some more of an
This is
integrity.
complex stuff. We're not selling tomatoes on the side of the street. This is the physics of the origin of the universe. Okay. So if you stumble on simple definitions
be
like
honest.
this,
That's a simple definition.
You need to be honest.
simple definition.
People who define nothing when this is something, they need to really wake up. All I can say is, just because, look, Allah says in the Quran, those who fear Allah most are the ulama. A real scholar, a real researcher, a real alim knows God and fears God's punishment for disbelieving. Anyone who says I'm a scholar and says nothing is something is no scholar to me.
fine. Can I ask you a question? Let's imagine that the universe has come from something, and then we fast forward 13.8 billion years to the present day, or minus 1400 years. If I grant you all of that, why is it that you believe in what's written down in the Quran?
It's a very good question.
It's
a very good question.
And the point I'm making is that even if you had that, it still doesn't tell you anything about Muhammad or what happened in the Middle East
Okay,
1400
the
years ago.
Quran talks about
But
Prophet
let's
Muhammad
grant that, for the
sallallahu alaihi
purpose of the conversation, let's
wasallam.
grant
Quran talks
that.
about Prophet Muhammad. Quran talks about a lot of things in its locality and its time. The Quran has some falsification tests.
Okay,
Sounds like science, right?
it is. Very much so.
Falsification test. If the Quran had been from any other than God, the Quran says,
Give me the tests.
that's what I'm giving them.
Oh, good.
Okay? One of the tests, the Quran says, you should be able to bring in its composition a book like it,
Yeah.
114 chapters, surahs,
Yeah.
or 10 chapters like it, or just a single chapter like it.
Okay, so
A single chapter of the Quran
people-
is about this big.
So have people not done that? People have used a computer program to generate random words.
Three,
And after a
four
small...
lines.
People have done this experiment where a computer loaded in with ancient Arabic, they've created a program that randomly swaps words around. And with thousands of cores, it does it for weeks and weeks and weeks, but it will recreate chapters of the Quran. So that
Given enough time, you can turn into a cauliflower.
Okay.
I have no evidence, but I have this faith, this belief.
Do you understand what I've just said?
I did.
You said bring a chapter like it, and that's a
I'm
process of
saying
how I
is,
can bring a chapter like it.
I didn't say you can bring.
Yeah.
Bring it.
Okay. Well,
Where?
I could just give you the output of that computer.
Go on, give it to me.
No, I don't have. I didn't do the experiment.
Who's done it?
I'm saying that that it has been done, and I
Yeah.
could possibly. I could give you a hard drive. It would fit on the memory on my phone.
Who's done a chapter like unto the Quran, and then
This computer program, it did it exactly, exactly.
so a computer, brother, one second, don't worry. A computer program has imitated a Quran chapter, right?
Yeah.
Where is this? I can have a look at it.
No, I don't have it. I don't have it on me.
Where can I find it?
You search the internet, and
No, I'm not going to search blindly. You're the one making click aid.
Okay, I don't have it.
Okay.
You can choose not to believe me if you like.
So-
I invite you to Google it when you get home.
There was this. I'm not going to Google it. This is not how you do research.
It is. It's exactly how you do research. You make a claim. I say.
Not your research. When I did my MSc,
You make a claim.
When I did my MSc,
You make a claim.
When I did my MSc, if I did Google research, my supervisors will say, "Get a life. Know how to do research." Right?
That's
I did
weird.
spend
That's
3
weird.
months
I do
doing
that.
my research. You know what? Forget my MSc. Right? What I'm saying is this: people make claims about computer programs. They made how computer programs can generate sentences and so on and so forth. I've looked at those studies before. They did not produce anything. They only produced random letters, and then from the studies they thought it would produce something like this.
What's the next claim? Because we've dealt with this. You're choosing not to believe me.
Wait, I'm not believing you at all or anything.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm not making any judgment call. I'm simply saying the Quran is unlike anything in the Arabic language.
Okay.
It has its own composition.
Right.
Own composition, the way it is structured.
Fine.
The eloquence that comes from it is from its own structure.
This is too subjective. This cannot be. This is unfalsifiable. This is not falsifiable.
This is where you need to understand the challenge first. The Quranic challenge is highly, absolutely objective. It actually gives you the structure of the Quran. Quran doesn't say bring anything. It says bring like it.
So how would you test that?
I'm giving you, if you allow me to tell. The Quran gives you the falsification test to be something like the Quran. So the Quran is in Arabic language, so it has to be in Arabic, not in English. Number one. Secondly, it has to be like the structure of the Quran. The structure of the Quran is not like any prose or poetry.
Okay, yep.
It has its own genre.
And how is like defined there?
The Quran does not fit into any known forms of Arabic literature. It has its own composition. For example, when the Quran says, لا أقسم بهذا البلد, لا أقسم ب something, right? This is a stylistic form, a particular pattern of construct. So the Quran has constructions, Quran has patterns and forms throughout the Quran in its chapters.
How do you falsify this?
Falsification is using the Quranic construction, bringing something within the Arabic language and say, there we go, we've imitated the construction, the patterns of the Quran, and it is eloquent.
And how do you falsify that? You've described.
I just told you.
You haven't.
You have to bring something. If you bring something like it, and you examine it. Remember, you have to be.
Right.
You have to be.
Okay, hold on a second. This is important. Right. So you said bring something like it. And imagine this is a small book also, okay? And I say, here you go. This is my small book. I feel like it's like the Quran. What would you do with this book? Would you analyze it mathematically? Would you get imams or?
No, you analyze the language itself.
Yeah, and what would the test be?
I just told you. You look at the Quranic construction.
Yeah.
There are patterns and constructions, right?
Right.
Stylistics. And you look at the stylistics that this is imitating.
Yeah.
So, for example, the same stylistic patterns have to be imitated using other words or phrases or nouns or...
That sounds really easy.
Wait, it's not easy. It sounds very easy, right, isn't it? Why was it then people failed to do it?
But how did they say that you failed? On what grounds did they say,
It's not about-
thanks
it's not
for your
about-
book, exactly, who's making
For
the judgment?
example, today we have someone who
Are they
came
unbiased?
here.
Are you getting
not involved in this
Are you getting an atheist Muslim ancient Arabic scholar?
No, get professors of Arabic language, whether they're atheists or otherwise, and then say, okay, now, here we go.
That they were not atheists.
They're already telling
Are you saying there are no atheists who speaks Arabic?
That's not what I'm saying.
Okay, I am saying
I'm
to
entitled to stand
judge.
here.
Why are you blocking
To
me?
judge.
That's quite rude.
No, but she's rude interjecting. I'm just showing her the point. That is rude.
We want to hear both of
What
them.
I'm saying,
Thank you.
you can get
You are just deceiving
experts
me.
in...
You are just deceiving
Brother, why are
me.
you
We're having a lovely discussion. He doesn't need your support.
Brother, why did you get involved? Why?
I
We
need-
want to... In fact... Okay, so what we're saying is this. You can get scholars of Arabic language,
Yeah.
not necessarily Muslims, to sit down and look at a piece. Yep. And look at how you have imitated the Quranic language.
How is that objective?
I just told you, constructions.
What's the next one? What's the next test?
I'm not going to let you go like that. When I say...
I agree with you.
Oh, no. Wait. No.
Yeah, I don't.
The
For the purpose of
Quran,
conversation.
if that was so easy,
Yeah.
there are millions of Arab Christians,
Yeah.
even to this day. Why are they unable, incapacitated to bring something like that?
Because the person who's judging it is not going to be unbiased. They're going to be heavily
have
biased.
you-
And they will say, I'm sorry, thank you, whoever.
This is something that you need to research yourself.
Insert Christian name.
Look.
But I deny this.
No.
This is
something.
not like the Quran.
This is something that you need to
Unless you
research.
give me some objective mark sheet or...
I just told you.
Yeah, no, but
The Quranic constructs are unique. Yeah?
yeah. But I can
لا
write...
تزر وازرة وزر أخرى. This is a particular construct.
Let's move on.
No, my friend.
We're not going to get anywhere.
No, my friend, you need to understand the challenge.
Okay.
No.
Let's agree to disagree on this one.
Sorry, you need to understand the challenge. Quran has its own constructive
I know, I agree with this.
stylistics.
You have to say something new, or we should move on.
I just told you.
But you said that
Okay,
before.
have you heard of sonnet of Shakespeare?
Yes.
If someone were to imitate the sonnets of Shakespeare,
And they did. Shakespeare was probably multiple people. But go ahead.
what do they have to do?
No, it actually happened. Shakespeare, what we call Shakespeare, is actually multiple authors because there was an imitation that went
Good.
on. Okay.
Did it happen?
Yes.
Excellent. We can imitate Shakespeare.
Yeah.
Why are we not able to imitate the Quran?
I would be at risk of repeating myself. I think we should move on unless you've got something else to
You
say.
see, this is the primary challenge of the Quran, and you want to just brush it aside.
Is that the best one? Is that the primary
challenge?
What's the secondary? Tell
My
me-
friend, what's the secondary?
Please,
if
teach-
I give you,
teach
if
me.
I
I
give
want
you,
to
look,
know.
I'm going to ask you, go and research, get some Arabic professors who are not Muslims, pay them $1 million, £1 million. Say, produce something like it.
I'd love to know what the other ones are. I understand this one. And
I'm sorry.
I've understood the
I am
challenge.
sorry you don't understand the challenge. I am saying the Quran says very clearly, no one can match it.
You have to say something new, or we should move on.
I just told you.
That's not new. You said that at the start.
Right. So my question to you: why did everyone fail to bring something like it?
Yeah, I've already given you my answer.
What's the answer you've given?
I refuse to repeat myself.
What is the answer? One last time. Who's done it?
I see no way, and this is the last time I'm saying this, by the way, I see no way that test can be falsified, because if someone comes to me as the assessor of what's like the Quran or not, and gives me a book, I don't know how that could be objective. I feel that person will always be very, very biased. They are likely to be quite high up or quite influential.
Consistent, are you?
they're likely to be quite high up or influential within the Muslim world.
Why
The
are you
i-
so inconsistent?
And the idea of them saying, "Oh wait, guys, I've actually found an example. Oh, this is all wrong. Let's all just forget this whole Muslim stuff." That's obviously not going to
Have you
happen.
forgotten your example of Shakespeare?
What?
Did they objectively match it?
I don't know what you mean.
You said Shakespeare was imitated. Did they objectively imitate Shakespeare?
There was no test. No one tested for it.
So,
It has-
when you said Shakespeare was imitated,
Yeah, we now
was that objectively done or subjectively?
it was done based on historical evidence that showed actually there are multiple authors.
Excuse me. The imitation of Shakespeare
The writing's
by
quite-
several authors.
the writing is different.
Is this objectively matched or subjectively?
The writings are different. People can say this is the style of this person, this is the style
Is
of
it
that
objective measurement or subjective measurement?
person. 100% subjective.
So they did not match it.
I don't know what that means. It's subjective.
You claimed early on they matched it.
No, I didn't say that.
Did you not say they matched it?
Yeah.
You are very inconsistent, my friend. When it comes to Shakespeare, yes, they matched it. And I agreed with you. Yes, I didn't even said excellent.
I didn't say they matched it. Okay, so there's like
Did
three.
they imitate it?
There's like three. Yes.
Did they imitate it?
There was an imitation.
Right.
Correct.
So they imitated it. Why
No, hold on a
are
second.
we able to imitate Shakespeare?
Right. I'm losing the energy. It happened in a different way. What you're describing is some kind of test, where I come to you with a book and I say, I think this is like the Quran, and then you apply a test to it, and you say yes or no. Okay? That did not happen with Shakespeare.
What happened?
In fact, what happened with Shakespeare is that evidence came to light way after Shakespeare died,
And?
that showed that actually.
How do you know it's
Shakespeare-
like Shakespeare?
No, it was attributed to him as one
How
body.
do we know parts of it is like Shakespeare when he didn't author them?
It was written in Middle English. I mean, it sounds like Shakespeare. It had good stories.
Sounds like Shakespeare, and what else?
I have not. I've read one book of Shakespeare and I hated every second of it. I can't give you more detail
Yeah.
than that, and I don't need to give you more
so
detail.
those
than that.
people who say it's like Shakespeare because it's like Shakespeare's writing, so the structure, if it's a sonnet, it has a specific form. You know that very well.
Well, a sonnet is objective. That has an actual definition. It's like a haiku.
Thank you.
You can't make up, but you don't have that. This is the Quran.
That's what I'm saying. The Quran is objective.
No, but the test won't be objective. There isn't. You can't say it has to be 5
I'm
syllables,
just
7
telling
syllables,
you
5
the
syllables.
Quran has its own form, and that form becomes part of your objective measurement. I give you an example.
What's the second test?
لا أقسم بي. So this is a particular construct. I give you another example. لا تزر وازرة وزر أخرى. A second particular pattern. Objective patterns and constructs.
Yeah.
So you cannot then say
that can be generated by a computer within a very small number of hours. So there's nothing miraculous about putting words next to each other.
My friend, it's easy to make claims.
No, but that
Get-
actually happened.
Get-
That's not just a claim. That happened.
Okay. I have been coming in this park for a long time,
Okay.
and this is not the first time I heard of computer intelligence, artificial
And you
intelligence.
still haven't Googled it. Shame on you.
Listen,
If you were looking
I
for the
did.
truth,
I did look at the research,
you would take that very
and
seriously.
you would know very well they did not produce any work whatsoever.
Yeah, that's not true.
Certain words and phrases, and that's where they left it. Now you tell me right now, Google it. I'll give you 1 hour right now. Google it. Tell me which piece of literature has the computer program has done it.
I don't mind it being false anyway.
Excuse me. No.
It's still.
1 hour, I will remain silent. Google it now. Google it on my phone.
So within
If
this,
you're interested, if you want to save your
within this
internet
hour,
data. No, one moment. Google it and tell me a piece of literature that has been made by computer programming. Go on.
I'd really rather not, because whether I find it
No,
or not,
you made a claim. Go on, do it now. We're going to be now.
Yeah.
We'll be proven
You said it's possible.
mistaken.
You didn't say it had
Go ahead.
it doesn't even have to
No,
be
you
true.
said it's done. Doable. Do it.
He said it actually been done.
Yeah.
Yes.
No, it has been done.
Go on then. Show it. Where? Google it. I want the exact piece of literature that it has done. From the very... Yeah, take your time. Thank you. From the very beginning.
While I'm doing this, can you please tell me the next test of the Quran?
This is important to understand this test. Why go into the next test? And then you're going to say, oh, let's go into the second one. And the third one.
To teach me. I've never heard this before.
Please.
Is this?
So from scratch...
Are you not in the park
From
to
the
tell
very
people
beginning
what-
of the test, all they had was just random letters. And then they came together without any human interventions, and they generate a literature, a piece.
So you're going to type in computer-generated book?
Computer Well, we know it's possible to generate a book.
Go ahead.
Do computer-generated book, and if you come up with a title, then
We know that Shakespeare is another example. If
not that
a
it
computer,
proves anything because there weren't computers at the time. So
We want artificial, non-human intelligence by looking at words, randomly gathering words and selecting together, producing a beautiful, meaningful literature in English, for example. Not just one phrase, we want a whole
criteria, we want a trilogy like Lord of the Rings or something like that.
what are the other? While I'm doing this, what are the other falsifiable tests?
Go ahead, please.
Can you tell me what the other tests are?
Take your time.
You're having a
Take your
discussion
time. Take your time.
Let's stick on the topic.
Criteria. One was beautiful, another was
I didn't say
eloquent.
I said
said
structure.
beautiful there.
No, I said here.
Show me something that's
No,
beautiful.
no,
Maybe you didn't mean it.
I said anything that you bring has to be meaningful. Okay?
You said beautiful and meaningful.
I did say meaningful, but when I say beautiful,
I'm not gonna hold you to
no. I mean meaningful. That would mean
That's a subjective test, maybe.
Well, that's why I asked.
No. If it says,
That's why I asked.
no, if it's going to bring a piece of literature and it says something that's gibberish, that's not meaningful.
I agree.
It has to make
Coherent.
sense.
Coherent
I can't find it.
might be a better.
Why not? You should be able to Google it. He said. Come on.
I should
Take your
be.
time.
I can't find
Take
it.
more time.
I don't mind retracting statement. It needn't be true nor false.
You said this is a deep conviction that you had. Prove yourself that it actually happened.
I mean, people can be wrong. I've either made a mistake,
No problem.
or I just can't find
No
it on my phone
Take more time.
under pressure.
Maybe you could find it on my phone.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, let's try that.
School, Parkfield
Okay,
School.
he
You
retracted
know what's
his
happening with the
statement.
LGBT?
I think he said
You're aware of it?
I don't know, but
Would you be willing to join the cause because they're laymen, there are no scholars helping them? I'm going to go up, and I think Sikhs, everyone should man the barricades there, but unfortunately there are not the best representatives there.
Colin,
Because
I think the government has made some legislations where this LGBTQ, X, Y, and Z, whatever, continue to grow.
yeah.
By legislation, it's going to move on. Whether you like it or not, because they are now have a very powerful lobby.
For sure.
And that lobby is making legislation, and legislation is making a change. You can talk about it, you can protest about it, but it will do very little. So I'm being pessimistic on this.
I know, but I'm looking at the results of the parents taking their children out of school. They actually withdrew that curriculum. They were terrified that this was spread through all the Islamic schools in Birmingham. Yeah, but what they've done, they've forestalled it. And I think if the strategies of the Muslims and the Christians could get together, the minimum victory we could hope was that in primary schools, on the basis of religious liberty, they allowed parents the right to withdraw their children from those lessons. That would be a huge
The
victory.
government has somehow, given to the parents' demands, then I would agree with you. There needs to be more protest.
For sure, yeah.
I'm just going to say. I have to leave. I was going to say one more thing. I know.
The other test
I know-
you were asking for very
Yeah.
quickly.
Anyway, I'll see you folks.
Bye bye.
Thank you. The other test saying, had this book been from any other than God, then they will surely find therein many discrepancies. A book which talks about, in a period of 23 years, history, economy, sociology,
I've heard about this one.
archaeology.
So tell me.
So, if you go, okay, someone can
So tell me about the fact that the Quran says multiple things about the origin of man. I think so. It says clay, water, nothing, blood, something like that. So even without knowing any science, they can't all be true, and therefore at least one of them is
they can all
false,
be
and
true.
therefore there is at least one
But
false
they can all be
statement.
true. Let me tell
There's
you.
at least one false statement in the
Had
Quran.
they- No, all of them are true. I'll tell you how.
Clay, man comes from
At
clay.
one point, man had no existence, physical existence. True? Man came from no physical existence. Then the man was created.
But how
the
did they come
first
from
man,
clay?
Wait, the first man,
They don't come from clay.
hang on.
It's gonna take you the
The
variables.
first man, Adam, was created from clay, yeah, from mud.
All right, we know that's not true. We know evolution is true.
No, you don't know evolution is true. Evolution is
Do
just.
you not believe in evolution?
Listen, evolution is just a working model of our natural world. There are many other models. This is just one of them.
In science, of the development of man. There are no other models.
How many models of evolution that you are familiar with?
Models of evolution. What do you
Yeah.
mean by a model of evolution? Evolution is a theory. There are no. There are multiple mechanisms that
Yes,
form.
yes.
Yeah.
So this kind of things, were people witnesses to the creation of the first man?
Sorry, what?
Were we witnesses to the creation of the first man?
No.
Right. So all we are doing is what? Guesswork.
Science.
Guesswork.
Science.
Yes, guesswork.
Science.
So the Quran gives us how the first man was created. This is the information it's given. You, by your guesswork, in saying that it wasn't the case.
I don't know why you call it guesswork. It's science.
Were you there? Were we there?
No.
So all we're doing is a guesswork, isn't it?
No, it's science.
Okay, what is a guesswork?
It's your word. It's your word. I'm not
what
using
is a guesswork? Guess.
picking random.
Were we there? Have we witnessed it?
No.
Did we
Have you been in
observe?
space? Your phone won't work without a satellite in space.
Wait,
You don't see the satellite, but it
brother,
works.
Did we observe the creation of the first man?
No.
Right. So what is it then? Speculation and guesswork.
No, science. I don't know what. You can keep asking the
see,
question.
look.
My answer will always be the same.
Your answer is clearly speculative guesses. You weren't there. When a murder happens, when there's no evidence, and you say, he did it, she did it, it's just what?
Right. Anyway,
is
we've got a problem because if you don't believe in evolution, we don't even speak the same language, so we can't really continue.
Hang on.
So
Hang on.
let's move on to the next one.
The fact that you believe in evolution, it tells you it's your belief based on what? Guesswork and working model.
Yeah, so fine.
Are there scientists who don't believe in evolution?
They're mad.
They're mad.
They're literally mad.
So now they're not scientists, they're mad.
No, I didn't.
So that really shows you how dogmatic you can be.
I didn't say they're not scientists. A scientist is someone who applies the scientific method.
So basically, a
They
scientist,
can still be mad.
a scientist. So they are mad scientists because they don't believe in evolution.
I would call someone mad if they don't believe in evolution.
Yeah.
With
So
the
now
amount of,
that's what
with
you're.
the amount of information we have available to us and the predictions that our models of evolution make, to say that it's not true, I would call that mad.
Is it possible? Is it possible for matter to become alive
Yes.
now?
Yes.
Which lab?
Sorry. What do you
Forget the conditions in the 1900s where we thought about the primordial soup, where there was this electric thing and whatever, we produce amino acids. Well, before that we produce all these chemicals and then produce amino acids, and then from these amino acids we make peptides, polypeptides, and they never made proteins. I'm asking you, my friend, in which lab today with our very strict
So you said
conditions,
you said something false there.
excuse me,
You said
that
something
we
false.
can produce live or living thing from matter? Which lab?
There is no lab in the world that has ever done that.
Why not?
Because it is so incredibly complex, and it's only happened once on this Earth.
Miracle
and
happened.
once in this universe,
A
as
miracle
far as
happened. So
we
you
can
believe
see.
in a miracle?
No, I don't believe in a miracle.
That's what you meant. It's so incredible. This once in a lifetime event happened.
Being
That's-
rare is not a miracle.
Hang on. This is another way of saying, you know what? I know it's a miracle, but I'm going to call it differently. It's a rare, one-time, lifetime event.
Yeah.
Listen, my friend.
Winning the lottery is not a miracle.
Why is it we are unable to produce a living cell in our laboratories today? It's because it's complex.
Cell? No. You've jumped like 7
What is-
million miles that
what is
way.
life?
Okay.
What is life?
If it was to
What is
happen,
life?
if it was to happen in a lab, it would be something like
What
a
is
very.
life?
It would be something that's very simple, like a virus.
Excuse me, what is life?
A life has got 7 components, and you have to fulfill all of them. So the
Go
ability
ahead.
to
Life has 7 components.
to reproduce, to self-heal, or I can't remember. It's not important.
It is important.
Why?
Because if you claim that happened by Mother Nature, the God that scientists believe in, Mother Nature, one-time miracle event, it can happen again, right? By chance.
It can, yes.
So why are we not able to do it by conditional laboratory experimentation today?
Because of the extreme complexity of that process, we cannot do that. But there are so many much more humble things that we cannot do.
Hang on.
You were saying
Chance itself.
let's create
which
a
doesn't have
cell.
Look,
I mean, it's
chance, my friend. Chance, no brains, no neurons.
we can't even cure
no
some
synapses.
cancers. We can't
Excuse
cure
me.
cancer, and yet you're saying
Listen.
we're going to create life.
What you're saying is there was no neuron and neuronal synapses involved, but it created the first cell. We have all the neurons together in the whole world. Brilliant scientists, and we can't do it.
Correct. We have evolved to throw javelins at.
You know what? You don't need
deer.
brain to make the first living cell.
We haven't evolved to be
But-
smart. We haven't evolved to be scientists. We have evolved to kill animals and pick berries. Okay, so it's not a surprise that we find these things unbelievably challenging.
No, but a fantastic in your belief is this. Matter can become alive by no intelligence, no governing agents, no directing agents.
Yes.
But while we have governing agents, human agents with will, power, intelligence, synapses in the neurons gathered together, we cannot produce something like it.
Correct.
But something which doesn't even exist, Mother Nature did it.
Correct. I can't lift the Mount
That
Everest
is nonsense.
to 1,400 meters, 8
That is a fairy
kilometers
tale.
above.
That's the fairy tale you believe in. The scientist fairy tale, that's what you believe in. That's your blind faith.
Shouting the loudest doesn't win the argument.
Sorry, shout it. Make it.
Because
That's
nature
your
did
blind
it
faith.
doesn't mean we can do it,
What
okay?
is nature? Does it have a brain?
No, because it has happened in
How
nature.
did it do it?
Because it's happened in nature does not mean
No, how did it do it without a brain?
did what, sorry?
How did nature, without a brain, without self-awareness, without consciousness, make matter into life?
I have not a fucking clue
Excuse me,
how
can you
life
mind
started.
your
I have no idea how life
But you
began.
believe in that fairy tale?
No,
It's a fairy tale, I'm telling you. Is it other than a fairy tale?
You're doing this thing where you're shouting over
Sorry,
me.
is it other
That
than a fairy
doesn't
tale?
make your point
No,
any more or
Is
less
it-
valid.
Is
okay?
this other than a fairy tale? It's a theory.
What's a fairy tale?
That matter became alive. It's a fairy tale.
No, a fairy tale is known to be false.
That is a false fairy tale.
It's a work of fiction. No,
That's a fiction.
Yeah, you're saying that.
I'm not saying it, I'm
don't-
telling you that.
I don't believe you.
You believe in it because when there's no God required, you will believe in this total ridiculous fairy tales.
I don't see it as ridiculous. I see it as Occam's razor. I don't need to pose the idea of God did it. We know that on meteorites, proteins form spontaneous cosmic radiation and that kind of thing, and it'll make
Proteins from what?
from high energy radiation.
From what? Are you saying from chemical constituents?
Yeah, from like-
hydrogen,
yeah,
nitrogen, and proteins form?
No, it needn't have nitrogen or anything like that, but protein in the sense that there's a carbon backbone and other atoms that come off it. So a macromolecule. It needn't have nitrogen or even carbon.
Protein is a very complex molecule.
I agree.
It has a 3D structure.
Well, everything has a 3D structure, yes.
This protein to just be zapped into existence, that's a fairy tale.
So I didn't say that.
Where you just proteins.
I said they were created. I didn't say they zapped from.
Where have we observed, in which lab, that this process takes place?
So we can interrogate the composition of a meteorite or an asteroid by firing lasers and seeing what is emitted back off it. And looking at the spectra that comes off, you can see what the chemical composition is of whatever it
That
is that you're
doesn't mean
zapping.
it happened
Let me
by
Can I finish? If you're asking a question,
I'm sorry. I do apologize.
I'm halfway through the explanation. So when it comes back, you can see the chemical composition, the length of the bonds, and what atom is connected to which atom. And what comes back is the spectra that you get from a protein. There are proteins in asteroids, therefore.
So you believe these proteins are formed by what?
I don't know. It is postulated that the composite materials, carbon, some phosphate,
Belief.
some nitrogen. No, we
blind
know.
belief in it.
No, we know that.
Sorry?
You're saying really
Have you
weird.
observed
You're saying
anywhere?
really bizarre things.
I'm saying-
Who cares if it's a belief?
That's your belief. That's the fairy tale.
What would the-
Were we able in our laboratories today to make something like that?
Yes, proteins. Yes, all of the time. I've made.
From the very beginning.
Yes, we make tons of proteins.
From the very beginning.
If you're a
So if I
diabetic,
gave you-
if
if
you're
I
a
gave you-
diabetic, I need to make protein, insulin.
From what did you make? Protein?
Insulin. It's a protein.
What did you make it? If I give you the chemicals themselves, you're going to make proteins out of it, right?
I don't know what you're getting at.
If I gave you the chemicals,
Yes.
right? If I were to give you, isolate an atom, yeah, and gave you these atoms of hydrogen, or carbon, or oxygen, or
Yes.
nitrogen, whatever. I just gave you these chemicals.
Yes.
And you were able to make a protein?
Yes.
Where can I read about this?
I mean, you need scientific equipment. You need large laboratories. Are you implying that if you just gave me a big pyramid of carbon and a big pyramid of oxygen and a big pyramid of hydrogen?
Basic elements.
No, I couldn't do that. No, and that's not.
Why not?
That's not realistic.
Why not?
I don't know what. Even if I was to show that that was true or not.
No.
I don't know what point
It's
you're
not
making.
about. It's not about. You can. The question is, can you?
Can I what?
Can we make from the very building blocks, the elements, proteins?
Eventually, yes.
Eventually it can become a cauliflower. I say.
But it would start off with.
That's the belief.
It would start off with. it doesn't matter.
My friend, amino acids are very unstable. You know that, yeah?
They're not unstable. How are they unstable? They're based on carbon, which has 4...
When you make amino acids, do they remain stable?
Yes. And we are amino acids, top to bottom.
When we make amino acids in our lab, do they remain stable?
Yes.
Have you seen the amino acids becoming proteins?
Yes.
Okay. So next time, please, if you don't mind, when you have time to Google it or do your research, bring back some information where we can see from the very building blocks of chemicals, we're able
Where are
to
we
make
going?
proteins.
You just changed the subject. So you're talking about amino acids being
From the
unstable.
yes, from the very building blocks
what point are you making?
that we make chemicals, we make the bases. From the bases we made amino acids. From the amino acids we made peptides, polypeptides, proteins. I would like to see that. This is a myth.
What's a myth? That you can go from an amino acid to a protein.
Start from the building blocks and then give me the whole paper where the lab has done. I mean, starting from the building blocks, they're able to make proteins.
The thing is, I know you don't genuinely want to know the answer to that question because this is basic molecular biology. My PhD was based entirely on this process, and it's really basic.
So you should be able to do it, right?
With lots of laboratory equipment, yes.
Yeah.
But I can take amino acids.
Has anyone done it? No.
And make
Why are
proteins.
you already you're like this? You know what? I have a cell, and I'm going to clone it. I'm going to reproduce it. Look, the simple task for you is this: if nature, Mother Nature, who doesn't have any brains or consciousness, able to, from the bare elements itself, create life, you should be able to do it with your brains, with your PhDs. So go.
Massively changed subject. And,
No, I'm not
also,
changing-
and also I disagree.
This is my demand. Has anyone done that on planet Earth today so far?
I've answered the question already.
The answer is?
I've answered it already.
Which is one more time. The answer is no.
Humans have not created life. No.
No, I didn't talk about life. I said proteins.
Humans have made proteins, yes.
From the elements, right? Yes. From scratching from the elements.
I think it's really basic. It's very simple. Really basic chemistry. It's a very long process, and you would never do it in practice. You would buy in.
Buy in what?
Tyrosine and lysine. You would buy those in.
What is tyrosine and lysine? Is
They're
that-
amino acids. They're basic amino acids.
So, and what am I asking for?
You're asking for, can you go from basic elements?
You know what basic elements? You're a PhD holder. You should know the difference between basic elements and an amino acid.
I agree.
Right.
And I do.
I'm not going to give you a product to make another product. The basic elements are your chemical elements from the periodic table.
Yeah.
Use those to make proteins. Then talk.
Yeah, okay. I mean, that's really easy. These
Is it
are,
done?
Absolutely.
Where?
These are really... No one would ever do it in practice. It's like saying...
You say it's done. I would like to know where, and I would like to be corrected. I would like to have some information, input.
Yeah.
Who's done it?
Go to
Where?
PubMed. I mean, the information's all there.
I didn't find it when I searched it one time. Maybe you can search and find it. Maybe you can come next time.
You probably search for make a protein from elements.
No. That's not how you search in PubMed. That's not how you search in Embase. That's not how you search.
Which would return no results, because no one would ever do that. You would be insane to do that.
My friend, you are insulting me of doing a Google research of this. As I said, I did an MSc at least, right? I should have done a PhD to talk to you. And then you should say, okay, now we're on the same level. So why is it necessary? I know how to do research, my friend.
Yes.
Just because I have not done a PhD doesn't mean I don't know how research
So are you saying
works.
that people can't make amino acids?
No, I'm saying the claim is we can make proteins. Right, good.
Mental.
Where can I find...
It's really basic. Go to PubMed. I'm not giving you the detail. You go and have it.
The
Go
one who
and search
claims
for
it,
it.
the one who claims it should be able to produce the evidence.
If anyone here is a scientist, they will know what you're saying is so basic.
Why don't you go to PubMed and do it now?
Yeah. Anyway, what are the other falsifiable claims in the Quran?
Do it now, because when it comes to really
I don't think that,
substantiating your claims, you are saying you're putting it under pressure. Take your time, my friend.
I don't even know what you're asking me to search for.
I just told you. You need to provide evidence in a lab where, starting from the basic elements, we have come with proteins.
Right. And imagine I can't do this.
Because
okay?
and then from then we can say proteins, the building blocks of life.
Imagine I can't do this, right? Imagine the technology does not exist to do that. That very basic reaction with carbon and nitrogen, right? That doesn't exist, and I was wrong, let's say. What would that how does that help you?
What we're describing is a process of a fairy tale where the mother nature, which doesn't have a brain, doesn't have neurons, doesn't have synapses, doesn't have consciousness or self-awareness, is able to create this beautiful, complex, organized, harmonious universe like we are living in today. And yet,
nature created the sun. Man can create the sun. Therefore, the sun doesn't exist. That's what
you are happy to accept nature as your god, because nature doesn't demand anything from you.
Yeah, I mean, that's not the case.
That's clearly the case.
You don't know me.
The reason why
you don't know me. So
not you personally.
Yeah.
I apologize. Not you personally. Many people, they resort to disbelief in nature. It's because nature doesn't tell them to behave, be good, do this, do that, don't do this, do that.
That would be a very risky strategy, wouldn't it? If you thought that there's some truth in religion, but you said, actually, I really like eating pork and drinking alcohol, and therefore I'm going to pretend that I don't believe this, so that I can continue doing the things that I want to do, knowing that there's a good chance that you could go to hell. I mean, that's a very risky strategy.
There is only two options. God exists, God doesn't exist. If God doesn't exist, nothing should exist. Why does something exist rather than nothing? If there is no God, there should be nothing whatsoever.
What's the next falsifiability test?
Look, my friend, the reason
Also,
why...
the Quran, you changed the subject. I didn't even realize it.
I've given you two examples
Hold on
already.
a second. We started off with the falsifiability, and it's to do with scientific claims. That was very clever.
Right.
So, clay, blood, water.
Right. So clay, you have no evidence it wasn't from clay. The constituents of man was from clay, right? The Quran doesn't say just clay. It says quintessence.
Okay.
Quintessence. There's something within this clay that was used to construct the first human being, which was lifeless. Then God breathed into it its soul and animated it into being alive.
What about blood?
Secondly,
What about blood?
the Quran doesn't say it came from blood.
It says it came from a drop of blood.
No, it doesn't.
Does it not?
The Quran says Allah created human beings, the first human beings from clay, the progeny from a nutfa.
A clot of blood.
No, I'll tell you what it says. It came from nutfa, which is like a drop. Then that nutfa was created into a substance that clings, substance
Mere clot of blood.
that can be, the Arabic word is alaqa. Alaqa in the Arabic language.
Why did you say this? You implied that I was wrong and I had to Google it. You know what I was referring to.
I'm just telling you. And I'm correcting you. There is no stage in Quranic stages of creation where it came from congealed blood. The word for congealed blood is dam'un jamid. It's a congealed blood. Alaqa means several meanings. Primary meanings of them are what? Something that clings, something that hangs. So for example, when you have a leech that clings to the human skin, when it sucks the blood, it's called alaqa. Because it clings to it. When something is hanging, we call mu'allaq.
Sorry, can you just explain? How,
I'm just telling you.
No, you're talking about leeches and other
No,
things.
I'm just telling you the process of the creation of human beings.
Yes, well, the Quran says that it comes from clay, blood, water.
It doesn't from clay.
Can you explain how those are factually correct?
My friend, as I said, from clay, the first human being, science has not come to a stage of development yet to understand the original recipe of the first human being.
Okay, so let's put that one aside. That may or may not be true.
Secondly, the progeny of Adam is from a drop, nutfa. Nutfa in the Arabic language is this drop, which when you empty a bucket, the very last drop that remains, this is the very minute part that remains. When you are dribbling with water from your hair...
I get it, yeah.
So this is describing what we call the sperm drop, because that's what Quran described, as something that was emitted from the man. And
so it's an analogy. It's
not an analogy.
It's not saying sperm, though, is it?
The Quran does say mani yumna.
Does that mean sperm?
Mani yumna means...
You said it means drop.
No, the word here nutfa is nutfa. The Quran describes nutfa is within this mani yumna. Look, if I were to describe it, write it down for you. Nutfa is the element within the spermatic fluid. The spermatic fluid not only has sperms, but it has many other things. We know from science it has what? Corpus glands fluids, prostate glands fluids, fluids from the vas deferens, from the ampulla.
Seminal vesicles is what you mean. The vas deferens doesn't produce fluid.
My friend, within the vas deferens,
Doesn't produce fluid. It's just the canal.
you have the semen. Yep. Is it just? Where does the Bowman's gland, the Cooper's gland, the prostate glands?
They're in women.
You don't know your biology, do you?
Move on.
Prostate gland in a woman.
Oh, you're talking about the prostate now? You're talking about the vas deferens.
Excuse me.
Make your point.
Why do you make a mockery of your PhD? I just told you these glands, Cooper's gland, they're not in a man. Shall I show it to you?
I really don't need to. It's not.
Because you're not quite.
I thought you were talking about the vas deferens.
No.
You're talking about the vas
You're
deferens.
clearly not familiar with the constituents of semen, are you?
Right.
How many percent of semen in a seminal fluid?
Say again.
Within the semen that's ejaculated, how many percent of sperms are there?
I don't know, something really small.
Very small.
1%.
What's the rest? Less than 5%. What's the rest?
Nutrients.
From where?
I don't know what point.
That's what I'm telling you. Where they're coming from?
From the prostate, from the seminal vesicles, not from the vas deferens. That's the point I'm making.
Vas deferens is the pipe, the canal that's going through, but I'm saying all the mixture that's coming through, right? This mixture is needed. So the Quran talks about the mixture as well as it talks about the nutfa, which is the sperm. The nutfa is also used for the female ovum in the Arabic language, the man's and the woman's. So the first is...
Say that the sperm comes from the bone, from the backbone.
One at a time. It doesn't. You're mistaking again.
What does it say?
You're mistaking again. We'll come to that point in a second. So the nutfa was created into something called alaqa. Alaqa, as I described, means something that hangs and clings and suspended. We know the embryo, after fertilization of the human embryo, the sperm in the ovum, around 6 days, it implants in the uterus. Around 6 days. So it clings to it and creates some villi through which it clings. And then it suspends itself and hangs. And from it, throughout its pregnancy, it is suspended within the amniotic fluid, the whole baby through the umbilical cord. That's how constantly like this. So it starts from the 6th day. So before the 6th day, it was a drop-like structure, the sperm. It was a drop-like structure, 6th day implanted. So the Quran is describing the process of whole of human creation, because the Quran says that. خلقا من بعد خلق. Creation after creation. So from this alaqa, it became mudgha, a chewed-like substance, something that has the appearance of a chewed-like stuff. When you chew something, you can see that it leaves a teeth mark. When this particular alaqa, day 21...
This description is very long. And it's not,
no. If you want to know, I will tell you.
No, I would never.
My friend.
I'm very specifically, I want to know one thing, okay?
My friend, can I finish this? Because
hold
it is
on,
very
hold on.
unfair
I'd rather you
when
didn't.
you make saying Quran is at least one process is wrong, and I'm describing all the processes are correct scientifically.
A second. Fecal.
So do you admit it's scientifically accurate?
No, not at
Then
all.
let me correct you then.
Not at all.
So let me correct you.
Because you're saying-
Because you made a mistake there, I need to correct you.
You're saying that humans come from clay.
I just told you science is not in a stage to somehow say anything about it.
They don't come from clay.
The first man came from what?
And it said, are you talking about life in general?
No, I'm talking about the first man.
If you're willing to open it up to that level, you could do, your brains are going to fall out.
Sorry,
Okay.
you misunderstood. The first man says, بدأ خلق الإنسان من طين ثم جعل نسله من سلالة من ماء مهين. Allah says He began the creation of man from clay. Then He created his progeny How do science know that is not true?
Anyway,
The creation, no. You made a statement, back it up with science. How does science know the creation of first man wasn't from the constituents, quintessence of what's there in the clay?
constituents, do you mean the atoms, like as in elements,
No,
as in carbon and
I'm not saying
and
anything.
some nitrogen?
I'm not saying anything. The Quran says,
Life didn't exist.
"Sulalatin min
So
ma-
life
sulalatin min tin."
began in.
I'm not talking about life. You're making a logical fallacy. I am talking about the creation of man, the first man. The first man was created according to the Quran from the sulalatin min tin, from an extraction, a purified extract of clay. Then his progeny.
I forgot that you didn't believe in evolution, so that's.
Who says I don't believe in evolution?
I thought you just said that.
When did I make a claim? I was challenging your assertion.
You weren't here.
No. I never said I don't believe in evolution or I believe in evolution. I was challenging the model people believe blindly. So you haven't even heard my stance on evolution.
Do you believe in evolution?
I'm not going to say anything. It's irrelevant to the discussion at right hand.
I'd love to know.
Maybe later, towards the end, you know to what my position is.
So you're unsure about whether evolution is true?
I'm very sure.
That it is.
No. Now, look who's changing the topic. We are discussing, you said,
We're talking about the origin of man,
No.
and one party is not willing to say whether or not they believe in evolution.
Look,
that's quite important. That will change the direction of the that will change
according to the
conversation.
Man, according to the Quran, has a beginning of creation. According to your evolutionary model, man didn't come from clay. It came from pre-existing life. Living forms, right? This is just an assumption. There is no evidence for it.
I'm just going to be silent because I can't repeat myself.
Neither can I.
So congealed
I don't
blood.
need to talk about your chromosome 2s and your this and that. We can talk about
So congealed blood. Man comes from congealed blood.
mistaken again. The Quran doesn't say man comes from congealed blood. The Arabic word is alaqa, and we know the alaqa means like a leech. And guess what? The embryo at day 21 to 23 looks exactly like a leech, functions like a leech, acts like a leech.
A leech is just an amorphous blob.
Listen, I am the one telling you, so allow me to explain to you. The leech, if you open up, how does the leech survive?
So man comes from water, the last plane.
You see, when you ask me to describe all the
You
processes,
said the same things. You're repeating yourself.
no, you are not willing, you're being unfair.
You're using 500 words when 10 will do.
My friend, I am being very accurate in the description of what the Quran says. Yours is based on misreading of translations which are obviously not correct.
Because man comes from water, is that a mistranslation?
Where does the Quran say man comes from water? The Quran says water is the constituents of all life.
Oh, it said that. I thought it said man came from water. So you're saying that it said water is a constituent of life.
The Quran describes the word ma to refer to the primordial water. It describes the water which refers to the human seminal
So this is
secretion.
what you're doing.
Are you not listening?
No, I'm not listening. Because what you're doing,
How can I even talk to
what
you?
you're doing is simply this: you're taking something from the Quran. If it's not scientifically accurate, you then relegate that to analogy and say primordial water. The phrase is primordial soup, and it's a metaphor, and it's not a real thing. My friend, you're changing things to mean things to suit that this could be analogy or something.
Let me
else.
help you what you misunderstood. When I mean by primordial, I mean the very origin. Life, the origin of life, the Quran says, is made from water. Every living thing is made from water.
Which is false.
Which living thing is not made from water?
Well, a virus doesn't need water, for example.
Virus is not even alive, is it?
But, you know, by many people's definitions, it is. It doesn't fulfill all of the criteria. But this is just an arbitrary thing that we've
It's not
decided.
arbitrary.
that we're-
You call it alive because it's not even alive. So what is a living thing that is not constituent in water?
No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that life didn't come from water.
You said it's false, so tell me, what living things that we know of is not rested on water?
I can't repeat myself more. I agree. Life as we know it requires water.
Thank you.
Yes.
That's what the Quran says.
No, well, what I've
It says,
read.
وَجَعَلْنَا مِنَ الْمَاءِ كُلَّ شَيْءٍ حَيٍّ. From water, God brought every living thing.
Yeah, which is false. That's not true.
What makes you say it's false?
It doesn't come from water. You know, I don't know.
No,
Let's use language
hang on.
accurately.
Let's
Life didn't come from water.
Yeah. What does the Arabic word ja'ala mean?
I have
Does the-
absolutely no idea. And
Exactly.
You don't have to tell
Then
me.
you're making it false with your ignorance of the Arabic language. Go to an Arabic professor who's not a Muslim and ask them, can it mean that life
Analogy, this is my point.
I don't know, analogy. It's the language
You're
itself.
saying things like it can mean this.
My friend, when the Quran says something in a text, in a language, we need to understand what it says. Is the language itself,
Let's move on to the background.
is the language itself has this meaning, you can't say it's false, it's you are the one making it false by your wishful thinking.
I'm just saying that the Quran can't make predictions because the interpretations are so fluid. And
Interpretation is not fluid.
well, it is.
The Quran is very precise.
Let's say that we discovered that life actually came from water, and it came from some kind of cosmic radiation that made hydrogen and carbon fission in a particular way to create lots of atoms. Would you then still say, would you hold this definition of what you're using, how you describe it?
You're now speculating about, what if we find life? What if, look, as far as the facts of science are, undeniable facts, we know wherever we want to see the evidence of life, we ask this question: was there any source of water? We know our life requires water. So moving on, from nutfa to alaqa to mudgha. So, okay, you want to fast forward? So now you have to admit, because you want to fast forward, that there is no scientific mistake in that process. Let's move on. Because if you say there's a scientific mistake, I'm going to carry you on with the explanation. Now, backward. The Quran says in Surah Tariq, let man see how man is created. Is created from a gushing, self-emitting fluid. And he is brought forth, or he comes out from in between the area of the ribs and backward. And God is able to bring him back together, back again. So what's wrong with that?
Between the ribs and the backbone.
Who comes from the ribs and the backbone?
Sorry?
Who comes from the ribs and the backbone?
Who comes from the ribs and the backbone?
Between the area. You see how science, as you know from your studies of biology, when you describe a hollow cylinder, we describe something anterior to, something posterior to, because that's it's a hollow cylinder. The Quran describes the anterior parts, which is the ribs, the strong parts, the elements there, and the backbone, the back parts. Within this element, something comes out. Who comes out? The Quran says it's the man. Let man think what he's been created from. So the man comes out from this area. We know during you've observed it. Have you ever seen a delivery? The babies is actually in between these two areas, and it comes out from these two areas.
So is it not referring to sperm comes from the backbone?
It doesn't say sperm, does it?
Yeah. What does it say? What
It just tells you.
what noun does it use?
It doesn't have a noun. It has a verb. يخرج. يخرج من بين الصلب. No. The verb goes to the noun فلينظر الإنسان, man. Man comes out. Because if you look at it subsequently,
But the birth canal. Is that what you're interpreting?
No.
That's what pregnant.
No, this talks about the man coming out from these two areas. An area which guards the human being, guards the baby. God is able to bring, you see, this whole chapter is about how God protects, preserves, and guards the human being. Surah 96. This is 1976, sorry. Surah Al-Tariq. No? 76, isn't Okay, it is 86, not 97, yeah? So here. Surah 86, by the heaven and the Tariq. And what will make you a Tariq? This is the star of piercing brightness. There is no...
drop emitted from between the back. It says a drop emitted from it. It's not only pregnancy.
This is a problem of people relying on translations. Translations are people's approximation of their understanding of the Arabic language.
Subjective, I agree.
What I'm saying, I'll show you the basis of this interpretation. There is no human being but has a protector over him. So this is what God means, protecting human beings from the very inception to the delivery, even afterwards. So let man sees in what he's created. Okay? Number one, he's created from a water gushing force, self-emitting. The words that I'm using this word mean ma'in dafiq is a description of the water that is self-propelled, and we know sperms are self-propelling. Fascinating. Number one example. Secondly, another argument. Proceeding from between the buck and the ring. This proceeding, many people thought is referring to the immediate one just before, referring to the sperm. But this is another argument. Why? If you carry it on, then they will see he will have no power, right?
Het is ook intentie om voor mij op te offeren. Ik heb helemaal geen mensen in de groep. Toen was hij gered. Toen was gered.
Seems to be going to a...
Wat is
No, it's this side. I'm trying to find the right next page, right? Someone only
Dus wij kunnen niet zelf iets afgeven, maar we kunnen proberen.
Listen. Where Allah is able to bring him back. Who is this him referring to? So immediately after that, the next verse is him. Now in the Arabic language, normally the pronoun refers to the immediate noun. In any languages, right? Okay, I saw John. He went to the shop. He refers to John. The pronoun refers to John. So Arabic language, normally, the pronoun refers to the immediate noun. Here, the immediate one, obviously there's no noun, it's a verb which has a hidden pronoun, he. But what we're saying is, this one refers to a noun earlier.
An earlier verse.
Which is this one, man.
And how did you know
man.
that?
Because that's the only interpretation you can have. And rest
It could mean that. It could be 7.
No, the whole surah, in fact...
Why isn't it 7? How do you know it's 6?
I'm saying he's able
You know it's not 7 because it's wrong.
Okay. Verily, he's able to bring him back. Who is him?
I've absolutely no idea. But if you're talking about pronouns, they refer to the thing that just came before. If you're deciding that 7 is not what it's been referred to,
I'm just telling you, my friend.
The reason you've done that is because it's wrong.
No, I'm saying...
Let's make it 6 then.
Hello, I'm saying this particular one, last one. Verily, Allah is able to bring him back to life.
You don't need to repeat it. I understand the problem.
Who is this him?
But I'm saying, how do you know it's not 7? You've decided it's 6. Okay, it's referring to 6. What's the process to decide that?
Yes, context.
Yes.
The whole context tells you... Context.
Because if you interpret it to be 7, it's wrong.
No, it's not wrong.
Well, it is wrong.
No, whole context tells you... Look, you understand the language from the context. The whole surah only refers to man again and again, even though the noun was much earlier. Every time in the Quran, when the verb yakhruju is used, the verb yakhruju is always referred to man. Everywhere in the Quran. So we know from the immediate context and the broader context, it refers to man. So linguistically, the interpretation that I'm giving you is sound. You cannot bring a linguist to disagree with me.